say, but like the language is really annoying and hard to understand.
For I did not. These came from past AP exams, plural. I took them from 2 exams. I took 2 passages, combined them together. On your AP exam, the way they break down the passages is they have 20th century, 20th/21st century prose, and then they have pre-20th century, which means 19th century, 1800s, or earlier. Both of these are earlier. You have Dunn, Gibbon. You take a look at their birth dates. You can tell that's before 1900 began. You would not have both of these passages on the same text because they would be pre-20th century. Initially, at the beginning of the year, there generally tends to be a fear, I think, with the older passages because the language is different, the syntax is different, the vocabulary itself is just kind of different. And because it's different, we assume it's harder. So we'll do a lot of pre-20th century passages just to kind of make you, I don't know if more comfortable is going to be the right word, but more familiar with them so that you don't see it, this is 1750, I'm going to completely butcher this one. If you consider this to be the most difficult passage because it's older, and you're breaking even, you're getting 6 out of 12, so you're at that 50%, chances are you're probably going to do better on the other passages. So if we can get this one where you are, at a strong 3 or even kind of getting into 4 territory, then that sets yourself up to do pretty well when it comes to the other passages that you naturally feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident about, you're more familiar with the word choice. What tends to happen with older passages is once folks get confused, you kind of shut down, and if you don't know what you read, then your chances of doing well on the questions tank. The second one is one where people will misinterpret it, and if you misinterpret it, then you're done, probably so far as being able to get those things correct. So take your time, read it, put notes on the side, on the margins, just to kind of interact with the text, keeps you a little bit more engaged with it, and then that byproduct is they'll probably give you a better chance of doing well with it. But say we go over the second one, you get 6 out of 12, know that you're still getting by, you're being successful, and you're probably then going to be able to do better on the other passages. So there'll be stuff from 2000s, 1980s, and they're not all going to be literary based. There could be things about the history of trains. We had one about the history of the plastic pink flamingo. We've had passages about fish, about clouds, actresses and all that, actors and all that stuff, but it's always going to be nonfiction. These 2 passages, because you said the GibbonPassage, generally the passages on the exam will not tell you who the author is. It might let you know this is from a 17th century literary critic. It might tell you this is from a 20th century civil rights activist, but it's probably not going to go, this is written by Martin Luther King Jr., this is written by Dr. John Kane, not Dr. Kane, this was written by someone else. It'll probably just give you time period, era kind of thing, general content, but you're not going to be seeing Joseph Conrad, J.D. Salinger, George Orwell, those kinds of things. Could be a weird piece of luck that you read something on the exam that Anna read in class. Wow, we already read this. The chances of that happening though are probably like less than 0.001%. Any questions about just the structure of multiple choice before we get into passages? Sam wants to do second one.
I do.
Want to fight him for it?
Yeah.
That's not what
RPS best 2 out of 3.
It was pretty even. It was pretty even. And the nice thing, say we'll do the second one. Say that you do have questions about the first one. You see me. Well, yeah, and you see me for like 20 minutes every day before something that we could take a look at. The first one was about fear.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because if Sam went, really, then I think we need to take a look at that one. So what's the second one about?
Second one is about the disbelief in Jesus and his superpowers. Superficial powers. Superficial.
I feel like you're starting a Marvel movie.
Jesus.
Waiting for like Thor to show up. So second one definitely has religious context to it. Author. Would the author be going that these these things happened, like the miracles happened, or is he saying they did not happen, somewhere in the middle, doubt about it?
He's saying they did.
I'm sorry?
That they did.
They did happen?
Oh, I thought you said they didn't.
No, they did say they did.
I thought he meant that the author thought they did.
I thought you did.
I feel like the
No, I feel like
author.
he
No,
said
the
that
author
they
said he
did,
did.
but the people
He thought they
in, like,
didn't happen.
It's a weird decision.
I thought it was.
The author thinks they happened, but he's talking about people who didn't happen.
And this is why this is the passage where we tend to get confusion as to what in the world's going on. I'm not saying who's right yet, because I just want to see how you folks kind of argue with one another, and then we'll be able to kind of figure it out throughout the whole entire thing. I'm guessing, and there's no shame, that no one has ever heard of Edward Gibbon before.
Nope.
We were supposed to.
I've heard his name.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
like whenever I read that name, I thought it looked familiar, but like I could have read like something else given before.
I think Gibbon's just like a common writer's last name.
Even another Gibbon.
We definitely read about someone.
ZZ Top, not a writer, but musician. They're Gibbons. Yeah. All right.
He died at a young age.
All right, let's see what we got here. So number 13, the use of supine in line number 1 seems to imply that the inattention of the pagan and philosophic world was, and then we have these options going on here. So the opening line, how shall we excuse the inattention of the pagan and philosophic world to those evidences which were presented by the hand of omnipotence? I'm guessing you didn't know what supine meant.
Or
omnipotence.
So this is the whole kind of guess that we have going on.
Well, supine in like terms of anatomy is like your back. So that would kind of be like I took it as like them saying like they just completely ignored it. Like it was like behind them. They didn't really care. Like it was like they had their back facing the evidences of the
Okay, so we have, I mean, in both lines, or in both the question and the passage, you have this use of the word inattention. So you're kind of going with like purposeful inattention, like I'm just ignoring what's going on. Okay, so would you end up?
Actually,
Doesn't supine mean to lay down?
when you're supine,
Well, here, hold on. Well, so which answer did you go with?
I could see, but I'm also never right.
Okay. That's important to know moving forward. Now, you're saying
Doesn't supine mean to like be laying down?
yes. So if you are in a supine position, you are basically flat with the ground. Why do people tend to be flat with the ground?
Terrible.
Could be dead. Could be, if not, we're going that far.
just like
They're
lethargic.
tiny.
Could be tired. Could be kind of worn out. So how shall we excuse the supine inattention of the pagan and philosophic world to those evidences which were presented by the hand of omnipotence, not to their reason but to their senses? And then going through this whole follow-up of examples and whatnot, supine does mean to lay down. So of the ones that we have here, E would be the best with the result of lethargic indifference.
Yeah.
I don't know what it
Told
was.
you, I'm never right.
Yeah, that's gonna be like the one.
Now, like Kate, with this one, and I don't have, some tests I have data on where I can tell you 47% got this one right, 58, 64, 85. This would not be an 85% question. At best, this one's probably like a 50-50 proposition. And there'll be some things later on where, and I know where you're sitting, you know, it's kind of hard to see it. That's why you want to have your test with you kind of follow along. There will be some questions where, okay, maybe you'll kind of get some hint to it, but this is strictly like a vocabulary question. There is not a list of special vocab words that we have to be aware of because we don't know what the passages are. You know, if you've taken language enrichment before or you're taking it now, you might see some benefit. Will there be some terminology? And one of the things that we look for with reading all the different works that we do of different age periods and whatnot is to become a little bit more familiar with it. But missing this one, I wouldn't go, uh-oh, I'm done. No way am I going to be able to do well on this question, because you're basically going with vocabulary. There's not a whole lot from a context clue standpoint that would make you go, this definitely means to be lethargic. The result of lethargic indifference, essentially, like, what would be another way of rewording that?
Like,
How shall we excuse the pagans?
like they're like, oh, it didn't happen. Like we don't really care.
Yeah, laziness, lack of caring, you know, ho-hum kind of attitude sort of thing. So, Sam, you said omnipotence.
Yeah.
What's an omniscient narrator?
Who knows everything?
Okay, so omnipotence would be one who
Knows everything.
all knowing. So how should presented by the hand of omnipotence, not to their reason but to their senses? How can we excuse their lethargic indifference towards all-knowing being, God and things of that nature? The sentence beginning in line 6 to 9, where the lame walked, related to the sentence that preceded it and then we get these options. So we have to take a look at both sentences. We need to look at what's in line 6 and 9. We also have to look at the sentence that precedes it. During the age of Christ, of his apostles, and of the first disciples, the doctrine which they preached was confirmed by innumerable prodigies. So this first line here that starts in 5, this is the first sentence that we're taking a look at. During the age of Christ, backwards, they were confirmed by innumerable prodigies. The lame walked, the blind saw, the sick were healed, the dead were raised, demons were expelled, and the laws of nature were frequently suspended for the benefits of the church. So, what does this first sentence do or what does the second sentence do, the lame walked, in relation to the one that comes right before it? You'll have a lot of questions where it's not asking you what's the type of syntax, but what's the relationship between the two sentences.
It's about providing examples to support a general statement.
What's the general statement?
That the laws of nature were temporarily suspended. Oh wait, that's in the second one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the second one.
Oh, sorry. I guess I'm wrong then.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but
I'm wrong.
I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay.
You're
All right.
saying that.
So, the doctrine of faith preached was confirmed by numerous prodigies. So, like, they did things and many people confirmed it, I guess. And then I look at what I put, I don't know if I...
Well, here, let's do it this way. First part says provides examples. What examples are provided in the second sentence? The lame walk.
Blind saw, were
Okay.
healed.
What would we consider all of those things to be?
Miracles.
Okay. Is there any reference to miracles in the previous sentence? Okay, so they don't use the word miracles, but they preach was confirmed by innumerable prodigies. This was confirmed by miracles, by events. What were those events? Well, the lame walked, the blind saw, the sick were healed, the dead were raised, demons were expelled. Remember, Legion, cutting stones in the Bible. Holden remembers him. And then the laws of nature were suspended for the benefit of the church. Those are examples that go back up to those innumerable prodigies. So, Sam, you're right. 14 would be C. It supports a general statement that there were miracles, that there were prodigies, and these are examples then of what those miracles were. Now, you mentioned the second part here, which there's going to be question 2 with number 16. The laws of nature were frequently suspended for the benefit of the church. What is the kind of like tone or context of that last part of line 6 to 9? Laws of nature frequently suspended for the benefit of the church.
It's like saying that the church wants you to believe this thing, so they temporarily disregarded everything that we know about science in order to say that this happened.
So I'm putting you on the spot. What's a law of nature?
I don't know, gravity. Yeah.
Drops every time.
Right.
I keep trying. I haven't gone to the moon yet, so maybe there I would be able to pull it off. No one would be there to see me. So there are laws of nature, scientific things that we understand as being true, that there's no other variable to it. But every now and then that gets changed within a religious context. So it's suspended, not that the Sharpie or the pen is suspended, but those laws of nature are suspended or temporarily held up for the benefit of the church, which 16 is going to kind of bring us to. Kate, 15 is one where if 13 was wrong, the chances of getting this one right are probably pretty slim. So if you get this one wrong, you can't beat yourself up for it too much. If you get one right, but you get the other one wrong, then I don't know if that means that there just wasn't consistency. Was there a change in viewpoint? Did you not realize that this one's basically asking a similar question to what 13 was? But 13 and 15 would pretty much kind of go together with it. In the context of the passage, which of the following presents the sharpest contrast to the supine inattention referred to in line 1? So we have for supine inattention the result of lethargic indifference. Which one of these would be a contrast, the opposite to supine inattention? I'm going to call on Cade just to get the back row going. Cade, what do you think? See, Kate? But now you know. You can look at Ben for support, or Bethany. I don't know if they'll offer any. Bethany says D. Are you glad that he's giving you credit for it, or did you want not your name included? You don't care one way or the other? All right. So, lethargic indifference. Lethargic, lazy, worn out. Indefatigable means that you will never stop. You will not give up. Indifference, you don't care. If you're curious, you're trying to find out. So those two are a definite opposite contrast. Answer for that one would be D. I don't know if you would necessarily have the time for this, because the first time we do this stuff, did you get this one right?
Nope.
No, okay. I thought you were going to say yep for a second. Time is a concern that everyone has early on, because I only had 40 minutes to do 24 questions. How am I ever going to get 55 done in an hour? You'll be able to get 55 done in an hour. You'll get quicker with it. It's perfectly fine. Time permitting, one thing that you kind of could do would take a look at your options for A through E with 15, A through E for 13. Do you see any others that would have a contrast? Are there any that kind of highlight where, okay, I know D is the opposite of E, maybe that's an option. Innumerable prodigies, do I have anything that could be an opposite of that one for 13? Just to see if there's a relationship. That might kind of be a little bit of a context that would help a little bit with you, just trying to recognize which answers would be opposite to others. 16, we started to talk about. In line 7 to 9, the laws of nature frequently suspended for the benefit of the church contributes which of the following to the sentence? So we got a reinforcement of a tone. I didn't want to highlight. We're seeking to persuade, causes the reader to question events described, provides historical information, causes the reader to doubt the sincerity of Christians. I'd say there probably would at least be maybe 2 of those that we would be considering based on your description of what it would mean for suspension. Which 2 are you thinking?
I was saying between C and E.
Between C and E?
Yeah.
Okay.
I ultimately chose C.
What's your confidence level?
Like a 70%.
That's pretty confident.
Like,
You're 100% correct.
I am?
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
that's a benefit.
Now I'm 100% confident.
What's the difference between C and E so far as the statements? Because I would say there would be the 2 that, if you understand what's going on with the passage, that would jump out. But I don't think E is equally as strong as what like C would be.
It's saying, C's more describing how the events are like questionable, like the miracles are like questionable or whatever, and E is just saying that the Christians are like flat out lying.
So the focus point of E is the actual people.
Yeah.
The focal point of C are the actual events. Yeah, so you're looking at events versus people. And in the sentence that Sam was taking a look at earlier, where the lame walked, the blind saw, the sick were healed, dead were raised, and all that kind of stuff, the focal point of that are the events that you're taking a look at. So all these laws then were suspended for the benefit of the church. This would be going back to the events that were taking place that C helps us with. All right. Any questions on 13 through 16? Awful spectacle for line number 10 refers specifically to which of the following? Horrifying sight of demons, the degradation of human intelligence, indifferent pagan philosophers, credulous apostles and disciples, miraculous Christian prodigies. Maria, what do you think?
I put E.
You put E. Are you at a 70% confidence level?
Maybe like 75.
7?
E.
She took your 70
Oh,
up in the ante there a little bit. So we got E. Any other call out? Okay, you keep shaking your head.
This is not a good test for Mr. Game.
Okay, that's fine. Remember, the whole AP exam was not a good test for me. You still got a chance.
Do you pass?
I don't. Don't talk about that, Benito. We could go Benicio.
Benicio.
Del Toro.
Toro?
Swayze. Be one full name.
Wow.
Maria, what are you thinking? Thought process for this one?
Well, how he described it, it didn't seem like he called like the miracles awful. Like I feel like in awful he meant that it was like awfully amazing or like more like impressive or dramatic.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the sages of Greece and Rome turned aside from the awful spectacle and pursuing the ordinary occupations of life and study appeared unconscious of any alterations in the moral or physical government of the world. This is a mouthful of a sentence. Basically, what's the purpose of the sentence? What's the sentence stating?
Say that they turned away from really obvious and like amazing things that were happening.
Okay, and we just talked about these amazing things where the blind saw, the lame walked, dead were raised, and all that kind of stuff. So for this question, and this isn't criticism of your answer, don't worry about the connotation of awful as to what would this mean, but what the question is asking is within the passage itself, when he uses the phrase awful spectacle, specifically what earlier things is he referencing back to within the passage? So what is an awful spectacle?
The miracles.
The miracles that were taking place. So it's not him going, the miracles are awful necessarily, but it would be him going that with the content of the passage, when he makes reference to awful spectacle, he's talking about how the lame were walking and all those things, and so it would be those miraculous Christian prodigies. So don't get hung up on like what the word means from a connotation standpoint, but from like an antecedent standpoint, what does this refer back to? The tricky part or the trickier part is you're not quoting lines from the passage, but you have to come up with, okay, of A through E, which best would match up with the lame walking, the blind seeing, the deaf hearing, the dead being raised, and all that kind of stuff. All right. The subject of appeared unconscious in line 11 is, so now we're going back to, oops, blank page. What goes on in my head most of the time. Who appeared unconscious of any of the alterations that were taking place within that sentence? So literally, what is the subject of that sentence?
Sages of Greece.
What's a sage?
Like a king. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like knowledgeable people.
yeah, someone who's knowledgeable. Besides the herb,
That's what?
the herb, like sage is an herb. Not what we're talking about here, but yeah, it would be the sages of Greece and Rome. So, who appeared unconscious? The sages appeared unconscious. That's how you would get your answer. So 18 is a kind of question where even if you're confused as to what's happening in the passage, and we still haven't stated what's happening in the passage completely, it would still be one that you could kind of figure out a little bit. 19, in the context of the passage, which of the following can be inferred from the sentence that begins, even this miraculous event? Now this is where the meaning of the passage really kind of starts to come through. So, in the context, which can be inferred from that sentence, even this miraculous event? Is the author criticizing mankind for the lack of attention? Was pseudoscience and misunderstanding part of what was going on during the reign of Tiberius? Age of Christ and apostles, mankind was lacking in curiosity. Because of their lack of knowledge about Christianity, historians were insensitive, or if such miraculous events had occurred, it would have been noticed by preeminent historians of the era. This kind of tends to start to be a make or break question.
I said E,
Okay.
and I think there was something in the passage where it said like how people from that time period would like record like the hurricanes and stuff that happened, like natural events, like they were.
The natural phenomenon that would take
Yeah,
place.
but they didn't like really.
What happened during the time of Caesar? Right by Caesar's death?
So
Within the passage?
month, whatever it's called, I can't even tell right now. The moon.
Eclipse?
Yeah, there you go.
There was an eclipse.
Uh-huh.
During the time of Christ's crucifixion within the Bible, what happens to the world? It becomes dark, shrouded in darkness and a cloud of darkness. Do the historians make any reference to that one? Within the passage, no. So what he's looking at is, okay, if all these events occurred, then why were scientists not making reference to it? So the answer is E. If such miraculous event had really occurred, it would have been noticed by the eminent historians and scientists of that era. People were taking account of the natural world. There was curiosity in science, and if something peculiar happened, they were marking it down. But for all of these miracles that were taking place, as if you were a non-Christian scientist, philosopher, you're not really making any kind of reference to it. So now one of the things, and this is why 19 is a big passage, what Gibbon really is taking a look at is, from a scientific standpoint, doubt that this stuff would have happened. And this is why he gets excommunicated from the Catholic Church.
Oh, that's where I know his name from. Did he really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he writes this book. It's the history of the Roman Empire, and he gets into Catholicism with it, basically going, these events could not have happened based on the lack of evidence that the scientists of that era take note of. The Vatican did not take kindly to that. So he
Do you
got
like
taken
the
care of.
risk of like who's
What?
How about 20? Which of the following best restates the meaning of the word intelligence? So you're looking at how intelligence is used in line 20. Basically, what would be the best word to get used within its place? So, who must have experienced the immediate effects or received the earliest intelligence of the prodigy. So it happened during the time of Seneca and the elder Pliny. What would have been the earliest intelligence that they would have received? You take a look at the words, which one fits in best? And the hope would be that the answer would be reports for A.
Oh, we had that in our race.
You gotta trust your gut. Bless you. 21, I think, can be tricky. The clause, which his indefatigable curiosity could collect, modifies. Anyone have like a synonym that we could use for modifies? What do they mean by modify? Partially, it could enhance. But if you have a modifier grammatically in a sentence, what it does is there's some other term that it modifies, meaning that it could enhance, but I think of a CH word being a little bit maybe stronger. It changes, okay? Or at least, at the very least, impacts the meaning of it. So when indefatigable curiosity could collect, which word of those options does it modify the most? So each of these philosophers in laborious work has recorded all the great phenomena of nature, earthquakes, meteors, comets, and eclipses, which his indefatigable curiosity could collect. What are we thinking? See, now everyone's nervous to answer.
I'm not confidently say that was the answer.
Hey, say that with confidence, so we'll care.
For the sake of time, I'll just let you know it's E.
See, that's why I don't answer.
Say Kobe.
What's happening with it is recorded all of the great phenomena. What kind of phenomenon? The phenomenon that his curiosity could collect information on. So it's phenomenon that he was looking up over and over and over again, and that's where the modification kind of starts to come from. Real quick here for the last one. Author's view, most likely reason that Pliny failed to mention. 22 plays off of 19. Author's view would be he didn't make reference to this stuff because in his eyes, from a scientific standpoint, such phenomenon would not have occurred. 23. Restatement is a key term. Which of the following is a restatement of the phrase singular defect of light? If it's in line 28 and it's a restatement, what does that probably mean about the location of the answer? If I'm restating it, it would have happened before, which means I'm taking a look at A or B. Or no, I'm sorry. If it is a restatement, A or B, I would want to knock out because that's coming before line 28. My answer should be coming after line 28. Yes.
Oh,
And then last one ends up being C. He was not indifferent.
Yeah, you did it.
Did you put these in the power school yet?
Yeah, they're in there.
You put them in there like last Thursday.
That I did not do that. That would have been like fortune telling.
Oh wait, yeah. They put them on
That
Friday.
would have been awkward.
And this is G.
Oh, I think you will be.
So is that,
Oh, that didn't work.
is that good?
And what you get?
Wow, I really just don't like the
Oh,
four.
mine. Played them.
I got a 23.
Made that one.
Okay, you might opt out of the-
Yeah, I'm gonna hand this to Pete to get the answer.
you might opt out of the-
Try to pass.
Oh, really?
I opt out of my race.
So bottom number 3 or higher would be like you're passing on the AQ scale. If it's lower than 3, that's when you go, you took this in September.